Let me tell you something that might surprise you. It's not the guy with the best looks, the most money, or the grand gestures that women never forget. The men we remember, the men who haunt our minds years later, they did something different, something most men completely miss. And if you've ever felt taken for granted, replaced, or like you were just another option, you need to hear this. From a woman's perspective, there are 5 specific things that make a man absolutely unforgettable. 5 things that turn you from someone she forgets into the standard she measures every man against. So let's start with the first one. The first thing that makes a man unforgettable is how he stays calm and grounded when her emotions are all over the place. But before I show you exactly how to do this, you need to understand why this works when everything else fails. Here's the truth. When a woman looks back at the men she's known, most of them blur together. Same energy, same patterns, same predictable responses. But there are always 1 or 2 who stand out. Men who left a mark. Men who changed how she sees relationships. And it's never the loudest, the richest, or the most physically attractive. It's the men who did 5 specific things that most guys completely overlook. These aren't grand gestures. They're subtle behaviors, psychological triggers that embed you in her memory permanently. I'm not here to give you pickup lines or manipulation tactics. I'm here to tell you what we actually feel, what we actually remember, and why certain behaviors stick with us forever. And here's what makes this powerful. You can start doing these things today, whether she's currently pulling away, taking you for granted, or hasn't even realized your value yet. So let's dive deep into that first thing. That first thing is this. He stays calm when her emotions are high. Here's what most men don't understand. When a woman is emotional, upset, or overwhelmed, she's not looking for you to fix it. She's not asking you to solve the problem or tell her what to do. She's testing whether you can handle her at her worst without falling apart yourself. And this is where most men fail. Picture this. She comes to you stressed, maybe even angry. She's venting about work, about life, about something that went wrong. Most guys immediately jump into solution mode. They say, here's what you should do. Here's how to fix it. Or worse, they try to calm her down by saying, it's not that big of a deal. Stop overreacting. And in that moment, they lose her respect. Here's the truth from a woman's perspective. When we're emotional, we need to feel it. We need someone who can sit in that space with us without trying to change it, without panicking, without making it about them. The man we never forget is the one who stays grounded. His energy doesn't shift with ours. He doesn't get defensive. He doesn't try to logic us out of our feelings. He just stays calm, present, and solid. So what does this actually look like? When she's upset, you don't match her energy. You don't get louder when she gets loud. You don't get anxious when she's anxious. Instead, your presence becomes her anchor. You look at her, you listen, and you say something simple. I hear you. That sounds really hard. I'm here. That's it. No fixing, no lecturing, no trying to make her feel better before she's ready. This is what plants you in her memory. Because in that moment, you showed her something most men can't. Emotional strength. The ability to hold space for her storm without becoming part of it. And when she calms down, when the dust settles, she remembers that. She remembers the man who didn't crumble under her emotions. The man who made her feel safe even when she wasn't being easy. Here's what happens next. She starts to trust you differently. Not just with her good days, but with her worst ones. And that kind of trust, that kind of emotional safety, it's what separates you from every other guy who couldn't handle the real her. That's when you stop being just another option and start becoming the standard. But here's the thing. Staying grounded when she's emotional is just the foundation. There's something even more powerful that unforgettable men do. And it has to do with how they show up consistently. The second thing, he shows up consistently, even in the small moments. Most men think consistency means never missing a big event. Showing up for her birthday, remembering your anniversary, being there when something major happens. And yes, that matters. But here's what women actually remember. It's the Tuesday morning text just to check in. It's calling when you said you would. It's remembering the small thing she mentioned last week and bringing it up again. It's the quiet, unremarkable moments where you prove you're paying attention. Here's the psychological truth. Consistency creates safety, and safety creates trust. When a man shows up the same way, with the same energy, day after day, a woman starts to relax. She stops testing. She stops wondering if you're going to disappear or change once you get comfortable. That predictability, that reliability, it's what makes her let her guard down. Now contrast that with the guy who's inconsistent. He's all in for a week, texting constantly, making plans, showing effort. Then he goes quiet for days. No explanation. Just radio silence. Then he pops back up like nothing happened. Maybe he had a good reason. Maybe he was busy, stressed, dealing with something. But here's what she feels. Uncertainty. And uncertainty kills attraction faster than almost anything else. So what does real consistency look like? It's not about being perfect. It's about being reliable. If you say you'll text her tomorrow, you text her tomorrow. If you make plans, you follow through or you communicate when something changes. It's showing the same level of care on a random Wednesday that you showed on your first date. It's not disappearing when life gets busy. It's letting her know, I'm here, even when things aren't exciting. Here's what happens when you do this. She stops feeling like she has to perform to keep your attention. She stops wondering if you're losing interest every time you take a few hours to respond. She starts to see you as someone solid, someone she can count on. And that's when something shifts. You're not just a guy she's dating anymore. You become part of her life in a way that feels permanent, even if nothing's been officially defined yet. And here's the thing most men miss. This kind of consistency doesn't make you boring. It makes you rare. Because most guys can't sustain it. They burn hot and fast, then fade out. But the man who stays steady, who shows up with the same care month after month, that's the man she builds her life around. That's the man she doesn't want to lose. But consistency is just one piece. The third thing cuts even deeper, and it has to do with how you respond when she pulls away. The third thing, he doesn't chase when she pulls away. This is where most men lose the game completely. The moment a woman starts to distance herself, gets quieter, takes longer to respond, maybe cancels plans or just seems less interested, most guys panic. They start texting more. They ask what's wrong. They try to fix whatever they think broke. They over-explain, over-apologize, over-pursue. And every single time they do that, they're confirming exactly what she's testing for. Here's the truth from a woman's perspective. When we pull away, we're not always done. Sometimes we're testing your emotional strength. We want to see if you're the kind of man who needs constant validation, or if you can stand solid even when we're not giving you attention. We want to know if you'll crumble the second we're not available, or if you have a life, a purpose, a sense of self that exists with or without us. And here's what most men don't realize. The moment you chase, you lose. Because chasing communicates desperation. It says, I need you more than you need me. It says, my emotional state depends on your approval. And that shift in power, that imbalance, it kills attraction instantly. So what does the unforgettable man do when she pulls away? He gives her space. Not out of spite. Not out of playing games. But because he's genuinely okay, he doesn't spiral. He doesn't create stories in his head about what she's thinking or who she's with. He just stays in his own lane. He focuses on his life, his goals, his own emotional center. And that calm, that groundedness, it does something powerful to her psychology, because now she's sitting with the silence. And in that silence, she starts to notice something. You're not chasing. You're not begging. You're not falling apart. And that makes her curious. It makes her wonder, wait, is he really okay without me? Did I misjudge his level of interest? Is he the kind of man who actually has options, who actually has value beyond what I give him? Here's what happens next. She reaches back out. Maybe it's subtle. Maybe it's a random text, a like on your story, something small to test if you're still there. And this is the moment that separates unforgettable men from everyone else. You don't jump at it like you've been waiting by the phone. You respond, but with the same calm energy you had before. You're friendly, you're present, but you're not desperate. You're not punishing her for pulling away, but you're also not rewarding the game. You're just steady. And that steadiness, that refusal to be shaken by her distance, that's what plants you deep in her memory. Because it shows her you're not like the others. You're not someone she can control with her attention. You're someone who stays solid regardless. And that kind of strength, that emotional independence, it's rare, it's magnetic, and it's unforgettable. But there's more. The fourth thing is about what you give her that no other man does. And it's the reason she starts to see you differently. The fourth thing, he sees the real her, not just the version she shows the world. Most men fall in love with the performance, the polished version, the woman who has it all together, who's confident, who's easy and fun and never too much. They compliment her looks, her smile, her success. They tell her she's amazing. And she appreciates it. But here's the truth from a woman's perspective. That's not what makes us feel seen. That's not what makes a man unforgettable. The man we never forget is the one who sees past the surface. He notices the things we don't say out loud. He picks up on the micro shifts in our energy. He sees when we're faking confidence because we're actually anxious. He sees when we're being agreeable because we don't want to create conflict. He sees the parts of us we try to hide. The insecurities, the fears, the version of us that's messy and human and real. And here's what makes this so powerful. When a man sees those things and doesn't run, doesn't judge, doesn't try to fix them, something inside us breaks open. Because we spend so much energy managing how we're perceived. We curate ourselves constantly. And the moment someone looks past that and says, I see you, the real you, and I'm not going anywhere, that changes everything. So how do you actually do this? You pay attention to what's beneath her words. When she says, I'm fine, but her energy is off, you don't just accept the surface answer. You pause. You look at her and you say something like, you seem a little distant today. You don't have to talk about it, but I'm here if you want to. You're giving her permission to be real without forcing it. You also notice the contradictions. She says she doesn't care about something, but you can tell she does. She acts strong, but you sense the vulnerability underneath. And instead of calling it out in a way that makes her defensive, you just hold space for both versions of her. You let her know, I see your strength and I see your softness. Both are welcome here. Here's what happens when you do this consistently. She stops performing for you. She stops trying to be the perfect version of herself because she realizes you're not looking for perfect, you're looking for real. And that kind of acceptance, that kind of deep seeing, it creates a bond most people never experience. It makes her feel known in a way that's rare and irreplaceable. This is what separates you from the men who only loved the easy parts of her. You love the whole thing, the polished and the raw, the confident and the uncertain. And that's what she never forgets. But here's the most powerful thing of all. The fifth thing is what makes her realize you're not just different. You're the one she measures everyone else against. And it has everything to do with who you are when no one's watching. The fifth thing, and this is the one that changes everything. He has integrity when no one's watching. Here's what I mean by that. A lot of men can show up well when it matters. When she's looking, when there's something to gain, when the performance benefits them. But the man we never forget is the one who stays true to his values, his word, and his character even when there's no audience. Even when no one would know if he cut corners. Even when he could get away with something and face zero consequences. And here's the truth from a woman's perspective. We notice, maybe not right away, maybe not in the moment, but over time, we see it. We see how you treat the waiter when you think we're not paying attention. We notice how you talk about people who aren't in the room. We watch how you handle frustration when things don't go your way. We see what you do when you think no one's judging you. And that, more than anything you say or promise, tells us who you really are. This is what separates the unforgettable man from everyone else. He doesn't have a public version and a private version. He's the same person in every room. He keeps his word not because someone's holding him accountable, but because that's who he is. He treats people with respect not to look good, but because he respects himself too much to act otherwise. He has standards for his own behavior that exist independent of external validation. And when a woman sees this, when she realizes your character isn't conditional, something profound happens. She stops questioning your motives. She stops waiting for the mask to slip. She stops wondering if you're going to change once you get comfortable. Because she's seen enough to know, this is who you are. Consistently. Completely. With or without her watching. Now here's how all 5 of these things work together. When you stay calm under her emotions. When you show up consistently. When you don't chase her validation. When you see the real her. And when you live with integrity, when no one's watching, you create something rare. You become the standard. Not because you're perfect, but because you're solid, grounded, real. You're the man she measures every relationship against. The one she thinks about years later and realizes, he was different. He was the real thing. And here's what makes this so powerful. Most men are performing. They're trying to be impressive, trying to say the right things, trying to win her over. But you're just being who you are. And that authenticity, that unshakable sense of self, it's magnetic. It's rare. And it's absolutely unforgettable. This is what plants you permanently in her memory. Not grand gestures. Not perfect words. Just a man who knows who he is and doesn't apologize for it. A man who stays true to himself whether she's watching or not. That's the man she never forgets. That's the man she keeps coming back to in her mind. That's the standard. So, here's what this means for you. Being unforgettable isn't about chasing her, impressing her, or becoming someone you're not. It's about being grounded when she's emotional, showing up consistently in the small moments, staying solid when she pulls away, seeing the real her beneath the performance, and living with integrity whether she's watching or not. These 5 things don't make you perfect. They make you real. And real is what stays with her long after perfect fades. So here's what you do. Start with 1. Pick the thing that resonates most with where you are right now. Maybe it's learning to stay calm when emotions run high. Maybe it's showing up more consistently. Maybe it's stopping the chase and finding your own ground. Whatever it is, start there. Because the man who works on becoming unforgettable doesn't do it to win her back or prove something. He does it because that's who he's choosing to become. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been with a woman who took you for granted, only to realize later what she lost? Or maybe you're the man who's learning these lessons right now. Drop your experience in the comments. I'll be reading every one because these conversations matter. This is where real growth happens. Here's the truth. You don't need to be remembered by everyone. You just need to be unforgettable to yourself first. Be that man. That's how you win.